Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rider Ramblings. Today, yes, we're using the old camera. I've got the old helmet on because I'm probably going to wash the bike. I haven't actually decided on that yet. I have got the washing stuff with me in the top box, but I went past the car wash station and it's full and cars waiting, so I've come for a little run out. Because in France, basically, you're not allowed to wash your cars on the street. I've mentioned this before, but you're not allowed to do it on the street in virtually all areas. Not every single area, but most areas. So you've got to use either a garden, which I don't have. Well, I do have, but not accessible with the bike. Or a car wash. Yes, so anyhow, the other piece of news is that the French MOT, my bike went through a French MOT on Thursday, and I'll discuss that in a moment. But what I thought I might do is just talk about the French MOT in general. I know I've talked about it before, but I thought I'll give you a bit more information. So, first of all, for motorcycles, the French MOT has only become law on the 1st of July this year. Now, it was sort of brought in on a rolling basis, but since the 1st of July, it's now law that if your motorcycle is of a certain age, it must have the French MOT, which is called the Contrôle Technique in French, Contrôle Technique. And basically, this motorcycle is now 6 years old, and it has its Contrôle Technique. Now, for motorcycles, the Contrôle Technique is every 3 years after the first Contrôle Technique, and for cars it's every 2 years after the first Contrôle Technique. And of course the first Contrôle Technique is a longer period. I believe for cars it's 4 years, and I'll have to double check for motorcycles because, as I say, it's new. I've got a feeling it's 5, but I'll put it on the screen. Right, so why is the Contrôle Technique so divisive in France for motorcycles and so on? Well, first of all, it was brought in because of pressure by the two very large companies that more or less control the market in France. And they thought, well, we need to make some more money, so we'll do that by having a Contrôle Technique, an MOT, on motorcycles. And so they lobbied the government for the law, using noise, believe it or not, as the reason, because of course some motorcycles and scooters have loud exhausts. Not the fact that, motorcycles are dangerous or they would fail the Contrôle Technique for mechanical reasons. It was done for noise, and that was it. Because if you look at the statistics, it's a very, very small number that the insurance statistics have shown would have failed an MOT after an accident. I think it was 1.2. I'll put the screen, the number on the screen. About 1.2% of all accidents reported with motos, they would have actually failed a control technique. So it wasn't anything to do with safety. It was noise, and they lobbied this on noise, and they then went after the various associations to help them. And so it is exceptionally divisive. As I say, and the reason was, of course, that they wanted more money. So only 25% of motos, according to a recent statistic, have actually had a control technique. And of those that have been through the control technique, 25% had advisories for things like tyres and brake pads and things like that, which were near the end of their life. And I'll put up the figure for the actual failures, but I can't remember what it was. I think it was about 10 or 12%, but don't quote me on that. I'll put the figure up. That would have actually failed their control technique. So most people in France now only get a control technique if they're going to sell their vehicle, because the fine for not having one is €135, and I think it's 1 point on your license, 1 point, which a lot of people, well, it's not a lot. Yes, it is, but it's, you know, it's not really a vast amount for a lot of motorcyclists, especially if you've got a BMW or something like that, or one of those. That's a nice Ferrari. So basically, not very many, as I say, only about 25% have actually had the MOT, the control technique. And they usually have it simply because they're selling it. Now you're going to say, well, what about cameras and things like that? ANPR in France is only just starting to come in. And so therefore your chances of actually being caught by an ANPR system is slim. They do have some new radar speed camera thingies at the side of the road that can do ANPR, but due to privacy laws, basically sharing of information is actually quite difficult in France, and that includes the government sharing information between departments. They've got to sort of create various laws and various systems to protect the citizens, because even the government is not supposed to know lots and lots about you. Yes, we do have a we do have identity cards and things like that, but it's surprising, you know, how much they police boat on the river, gendarmerie, should I say, they're not allowed to share. So, as I say, it's only just coming in, and I think it was just at the beginning of this year that, is it the beginning of this year or beginning of last year? Can't remember exactly when, but it's very recently that they've actually had your insurance details on the ANPR system, so that they know whether your vehicle is registered, and the Contrôle Technique. Up until, I think it was the 1st of January this year, you actually had to show a thingy, a guichet, as they call them in France, on the on your vehicle to prove that you'd had the Contrôle Technique. Now, they don't give you one. They put a stamp in your logbook, which is called the 𝗘𝘅𝗪𝗔, and that's what your logbook is called, the 𝗘𝘅𝗪𝗔. And it's got all the details on about your Contrôle Technique. So it's very divisive, and as I say, the FFMC are lobbying about it. They've just started a petition that's got about 20,000 signatures so far in about a week or so for another review in the French Senate. And in fact, when the Contrôle Technique law was passed through the government, Macron refused to sign it. Well, he actually signed it, but then said it was not to be implemented. And it went through, it had to go through the Constitutional Court, who then said, no, a Contrôle Technique was required. So basically, most motorcyclists look at this as a monopolistic system by the two big companies to make more money, because to tell you the truth, that's, to a great extent, that's what it is. Now, the next thing, ooh dear, is that not sure what Charlie is doing here. So there's a big boycott. So the big two companies, motorcycle owners, motards, are being asked to boycott the two big companies and not use them for both car and motorcycle where possible. I mean, okay, it's not always possible, but they are being asked to do that. And so we're going to the independents, and there's not that many independents actually, but every week or so we hear of another Contrôle Technique station shutting their doors to motorcycles, and every month or so shutting their doors completely because they've lost the business. These are the big ones. They're not making enough money because everybody's going to the little guy. Now the next problem is the actual cost. It costs 70 euros, 70, not 17, 70 euros for a car and a motorcycle above 50 cc's, which is actually quite expensive. Now the government did say that motorcycles were supposed to be cheaper, but the two big boys decided that 70 euros was going to be the price. And because there's so few small ones, most of the smaller ones charge, well, close to 70 euros. Some are charging only 50, but most are charging between 50 and 70 euros. So as you can see, it is actually a bit of a scam. It's definitely a collusion by the two big companies. Now, I'm not against the Contrôle Technique. I actually do believe it's a good idea. One of the reasons being that I service my own motorcycle, so it's a good idea to have somebody independent to check it now and again. And of course, the other reason is I do occasionally, and it is actually occasionally, visit other countries. And if you go to Germany or the UK or wherever, and you're stopped by the police, you have to have proof of a Contrôle Technique. And in the UK, they're a little bit fierce about this if you don't have it. So I thought it was a good idea, as mine was now due, to get it. Right, so before the Contrôle Technique, I had to have a new front tyre, because there was about 500 to 700 kilometres, about 350 to 500 miles left on the tyre. It would have gone through, but it would have had an advisory. So I had a new front tyre fitted, and it was within 6 kilometres of exactly 10,000 kilometres since I had the old one on. Now the interesting thing is that the rear tyre is only half worn, and I think that's because I'm riding like an old lady, like I am today. And it'll probably get to, well, I imagine it'll get close to 20,000 kilometres before it needs changing. It has squared off, which is one of the reasons why I was not so happy with the grip levels on the rear tyre, where it's squirming around. But as I very rarely ride in the rain, I decided, well, I'm not going to spend another couple of hundred, maybe 250 euros on a new rear tyre as well, especially as it's only half worn on that. So I took the brakes off and I cleaned them. I took the pads out and checked them. One piston is sticking a little bit, so one of the pads is low, so I moved that to a different position and put the one with the most meat on the one that was sticking. I then cleaned them with a toothbrush, the pistons, and WD-40 and soap and water and the whole works, and then cleaned them off with the brake cleaner and made sure that the disc itself and the pads were not contaminated with anything. And they're working very well, and as I say, they're working well enough to get through an MOT. When I had the tyre replaced, which I didn't do, I had somebody do that for me. I had them check the wheel bearings, and they're fine. So that was that. So the result of the Contrôle Technique was no advisories, no failures, no nothing. It went all the way through, no problem whatsoever. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. And so it's July 2028 is the next one. So that's that. So, well, I'll keep you updated on this petition and so on. When they get to 100,000, I think it is, it gets debated or put forward for debate. So it was about 20,000 in a week, so we'll have to see how that does. Right, so that's a quick run out. As I say, I shall love you and leave you. Just before I do, a little bit of information about the other camera. I'm having one or two issues, me issues rather than camera issues. The camera works fine, absolutely fine. I'm just not happy with its positions at all. And it's annoying me. When it's around my neck, it annoys me. When it's on the chin mount, it's means that I can't get at the vent, and that annoys me. And the fact that the sound is not perfect and the microphone is, I haven't found a good place for it. Now, I have bought another mount. Yes. How many mounts do you need? Which I'm going to test out and see if that works. And this is one that's more easily removable from the helmet. So if I need to access the vent and things like that, I can actually do so. But we'll see. What I really need is something like I've got on this helmet, which is a fit it and forget it, and just press a couple of buttons and it works. It's not in the way, it's not obtrusive, it just works. But unfortunately there isn't a place to mount this, and of course the video resolution isn't good enough anymore. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because I prefer to do these sort of vlogs where I'm just chatting away rather than actually writing a script and doing a voiceover. Anyhow, that's that. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll keep you updated. Please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.